if you are on visa, everything they have tied to your visa. So if you have, let's say, any DUI, driving under influence, like if you're drunk and you're driving, if you have one DUI, you're done. I mean, your visa history it impacts so much that when you go for a green card or something like that, it will show up on your history that you had a DUI.
I think the next point that we had in our list was, all Indians moving to US are happy.
Yeah,
You want to
I
take a
think,
dig at it?
yeah. So, I mean, I'm not really, I don't want to really generalize it. Maybe people are happy, but when you come here and when you start absorbing things or looking at things, when you are out of that, you know, the first initial hangover that, oh my God, I'm in US, it takes probably a week for people or a month. Once you're out of it, that's when it hits you really hard that, as I mentioned, you have to struggle for 1 year to establish your credit history. And there are lots and lots of things that, the driving itself and getting used to the road conditions, it's so different. The driving mindset, when you drive a car in India, you come here and drive a car, it's so different. Getting adjusted to that is different. And if you're coming on a visa, there are so many restrictions around that. For whatever reasons, they have the restrictions. So going through those restrictions and sticking to those policies, I think you have to really put an effort to find happiness in what you have or what you are currently doing. You have to keep reminding yourself why you are here constantly. Otherwise, it's very easy to first 1 year maybe it'll be exciting. After 1 year, you'll start wondering why am I even here? With all the restrictions, is it really worth it, or should I go back to India? Or so constantly keep reminding. But yeah, I mean, happiness is a spectrum. So you start very happy, then maybe you go down again, you become very happy after you get your visa approval, you wait for 2 more years, it's again time to extend your visa. That's when it dips. You get approval again, you are happy. So yeah, I always felt that, wow, it's such a great thing, just go move to US and you'll be happy. So I think that myth got busted for me big time.
Yeah, I think like you become so aware of things around you, I believe, because in India, at least, with law and things like that, a lot of times there are not much consequences because there aren't even laws in place. Like, for example, if you take a simple thing like traffic and all, right? So, like, there are times when there is nobody in the thing and there is a red light. So, yeah, I can cross and nobody will care. But I think the consequences part becomes a lot more. I think in US at least.
Yeah.
Correct me.
So what they have done here is everything they have tied. If you are on visa, everything they have tied to your visa. So if you have, let's say, any DUI, driving under influence, like if you're drunk and you're driving, if you have one DUI, you're done. I mean, your visa history it impacts so much that when you go for a green card or something like that, it will show up on your history that you had a DUI. If you have parking tickets, sometimes you can get out of it, but if any of these violations you have, it seriously impacts your, not just the immigrants, even for citizens, it really has a great impact. So they have tied everything to their some benefits that they're getting from government. So once they do that, I think people take it seriously. I used to drive my bike like, I think what, 13 years, or not 13 years, 8 years. I have driven. I've ridden a bike in India. I never observed that we have yellow lines and white lines on roads. I mean, and there are white broken lines. After coming here, they have a booklet. You have to read all that. That's when I realized, oh, this is what white lines mean. This is what yellow line means on the road, and this is what broken line means. You have to learn it and you have to follow it here. And like how in business we say customer is king, here pedestrian is king. So even if it's a green light, if a pedestrian is crossing, you have to slow down. Maybe some people honk here, but you have to slow down and you have to let that guy go. So you become humble when you're driving. Again, that's another life experience that driving is, offering to you.
I feel here for pedestrians, it's like just cross. It's like a game. Wherever gap is there, just run in middle.
Yeah, it's like
It's
the
like
small video games, mobile games you have, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
life and death game. Like if you miss it
yeah,
by a little bit, no, you're screwed. That guy will hit you
yeah,
and run.
Yeah. But then talking about this happiness thing, right? when people, obviously you were here, and when you also heard this myth saying that, oh, people there are happy. When you went there, what do you think when they mention the word happiness, what do you think that they were referring to? Possibly referring to. Is it money? Is it travel, or is it cleanliness? Like,
I think it definitely ties to all the luxuries that the first world has to offer. Like for us, probably AC maybe was a luxury. Like car was a luxury. 65-inch TV was a luxury. But once you come here, it is so easily available because owing to the credit that you can, buy anything that you want and keep paying in monthly installments. Or like Michael Scott just announced, I declare bankruptcy.
Bankruptcy.
So exactly. Uh, so I felt all those materialistic things, right? I thought, okay, you have access to all these there, so probably that brings happiness to you, and you can literally go anywhere, and the whole landscape that is here available here, so you can do a lot of things. There is a lot of freedom you feel. Maybe that's what I used to feel, that oh, they're very happy, you can be really happy there. But once you come here, you know that it is there, but again, it's all
It's not everything.
it's not exactly everything. Yes. And also you always feel that the grass is always greener on the other side. So the old,
Do you miss India?
do I miss India? Yeah, definitely, because I lived in Bangalore for 4 years, Chennai for 4 years, so I literally miss street food in India, because there is nothing called street food here. Um, the Indian places also, we go to Indian restaurants, you don't feel that authentic taste. You don't get that authentic taste because of all the
Groundnut
ingredients
chutney and
and
all.
all. Yeah, because there is no sweat and dust that is
Yeah.
added into it. So you miss that a lot. Exactly. Yeah, the eateries in Chennai I miss so much, and definitely Bangalore, Tatte Idli and all I miss a lot. Yeah, definitely miss India for the food especially, and definitely family, friends. It's not easy to just step out anytime you want. The work keeps you either busy or you wait for the weekends. People celebrate their kids' birthdays on weekends, irrespective of when the birth date is, because everybody can make it to the birthday party. So
Maybe the kids also don't know till they're like old enough that uh, oh, my birthday was always on the weekends. I wonder
Exactly.
why.
Yeah. So when I first came, I was like, okay, your birthday is on a Wednesday, then why are you celebrating on a Saturday? Because others can come and be part of the party. So yeah,
I
think
remember
while in
here
Bangalore,
people.
Mhm.
I remember here people celebrate two birthdays. One is original, one is like that.
Star birthday.
Star birthday.
Official. Oh, star birthday. Oh, there is one more, official records, right? On school records, you have a different birthday. Yeah.
One other like major topic that I really want to discuss with you is about about racism in US. Like, do Indians really face racism, and if yes, like how much? And uh, like, are all Americans racist? Like, what is that stereotype? Can you talk about that?
I remember there was a video on Facebook where I don't remember if she's a professor or a doctor or somebody. She was talking about, first of all, racism itself is wrong. We are all human race. There is nothing like racism. If you're talking about human race, animal race, then you can talk about racism. But keeping that definition aside, um, so somehow either I am too naive to even identify that I faced racism or somebody was being racist towards me, but I never had any personal experience. Maybe racism has different forms. One is directly, physically somebody says something to you. There are subtle racisms where you're not given certain opportunities, or opportunities are given to someone else instead of you because of your race or their bias towards a particular race. But all Americans are racists, that's a too much of a statement to make. I feel all human beings are racists. We don't realize it. Racism is
Exactly.
a spectrum. Exactly. I personally feel that we all. So again, what is racism is a different definition, differs from person to person. When mocking becomes too brutal, if you're mocking somebody because of their the way they pronounce certain words, or the kind of diction that they have, then, or the kind of attire they wear, mocking, then again racism. I mean, there's a
Yeah, it can get convenient also, because a person who has a friend who's like, say, dark skinned or someone, and like, and so they might like kind of mock him, and they say that, hey, I'm mocking him, but I'm making sure that he's not harmed or anything. So for them, like, their definition of racism is like totally different. And when you I think extrapolate it to a larger scale, like, I think uh, it'll become something like the whole big scene that happened. So
I think racism probably it came out of oppression, maybe. Some certain sects or certain classes or groups of people were oppressed or deprived of certain opportunities. Maybe those guys are calling that being as a racist, or having stereotypes by certain individuals towards certain groups. That is racism. But yeah,
I think
definitely there is. Mhm.
yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. Actually, the very fact that, like, if you put color of a person before anything else, before the work they do, or then I think that's considered as racism. Like, like,
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, there are definitely some stereotypes that I have heard of, that if you're an Indian, your car and your house would always smell of curry. And if you're an Indian, your favorite snack is samosa. Yeah. I mean, that happens because, they don't have enough ventilation in these houses. All you have is windows and sliding doors or doors. So what happens is when you make any strong tadka or strong biryani kind of stuff, there is no way that smell goes out. And most of these houses here are wood, right? And wood holds the smell. Carpets, the flooring are carpets, they hold the smell. So I don't blame them for thinking that all Indians houses stink of curry, because that's a science of it. I mean, we can't really, and probably that curry, that masala that we use is really protecting us from viruses like corona and all that.
I, wa- I was going to say it's a compliment to Indian spices, because generally I think the food there is little bland, right? They don't use like, oh, for us garam masala, they then put cumin powder, then put on top of the chili, on top of that some jeera powder. Every powder will put.
I think there is this girl on Instagram who is like, see, first of all, she's a foreigner, okay? She got married to an Andhra guy. She's in Andhra, and she's like, first of all, Indian food is so spicy. On top of that, they want one dried chili on the side. Like,
Right,
what's going on?
right. Curd mirchi or something. Yeah.
Curd mirchi, yeah.
Various other stereotypes, that Asian drivers are always rude drivers. Asia includes all the other our Southeast friends. So Asian drivers are all rude drivers, and there are so many
Parking.
other stereotypes.
About the parking thing.
Parking, we don't. I mean, it's a generic stereotype that if car is not parked well, which means it must be a female driver.
Maybe I don't know. I think the more people get educated, the more people we speak about these things, I guess these smaller myths kind of get busted, right?
Right, yeah. I mean, unknowingly, what we do is we say, oh, okay, which is like this, so it must be that person, or it must have been done by him. Oh, he is so and so, that's why he must be doing all this. Yeah, I mean, in India itself, we have so much light.
Big
I
time.
mean, I mean, if you see Kerala, coconut oil. I mean, that when probably we were kids, it was like a joke. I mean, we used to
Yeah.
have fun saying it, but now when all this things are coming out, now we realize, oh my God, I've been racist all throughout my life about this. Making fun of somebody's accent. And all that. Especially if you see somebody from Southeast, say, oh, Jackie Chan. Yeah. It's weird. I mean, as long as you don't hurt intentionally, that it's going to hurt somebody, I don't think you should be doing that. That is definitely considered being a racist. Yeah.
I think I just wanted to touch upon work culture, right? And maybe I think Corona is something that's kind of work from home, and Corona is something that's kind of even things out. But there is a common myth, and I don't know this thing, right? And this was brought about more in terms of the CEO of Ola also tweeted it, right? About the work culture in India and US, right? There is a myth that okay, Indians work like crazy, like they'll work 24 hours also if you give we guys will work, right? But those guys are just chilling. Like in US, people are like, okay, they'll come morning 8. Obviously, they'll go off at 5 and they'll just go and do stuff. To some extent, my work, I work with people in the US, and I know that they are also equally hardworking. May not be like 24 hours, but what is your take that you've seen here and then you've also seen there, right? Are these true?
Yeah, so when I was back in India, also I worked. I mean, I was the offshore, and we had an onshore onshore counterparts here. So having worked there with onshore people for some time and coming here and working with offshore people, I think it it really opens up your eyes. When you're there, you think that okay, everybody is working for 10 hours, 12 hours, so probably that's a norm. But when you come here, you see that I can easily proudly say that Indians are most hardworking, be it mostly in the IT sector, because we see most Indians in IT sector here, but even other places like hospitals or any industry, any other industry, Indians are very hardworking, and we earn a lot of respect for that fact here. Whenever if we apply for a job interview, they know that okay, he's an Indian, so they can expect a certain level of commitment and accountability from Indians. But at the same point, we have this habit of not being able to say no, and when to stop accepting work. You don't have to be submissive. If you have to respect somebody, you don't have to be submissive, saying that whatever you do, I'm going to work for you. You don't have to do that. uh, but yeah, there's a huge difference in how Indians work here versus how Indians work from there for US companies. Like, we typically are encouraged to stick to the 8 hours schedule here, but it is out of your interest, because you're working for an Indian based company or Indian counterparts. You tend to bring the same work culture here to, working longer hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day. But really, nobody expects you from here, but we kind of set that trend even after moving here. So that is probably something I have seen. When you are here, you are not expected to work for more than 8 hours. And I personally have become little more sensitive towards how I talk to my offshore counterparts. I'm more respectable of their time. When I set up calls, I make sure I don't set up calls on my Friday morning, which is Friday night for them, because everybody wants a Friday night, uh, early Friday evening, right? So these things I have adapted here, but back there, it really didn't matter. We used to have calls on even Friday nights, Monday mornings, and even the whole management, or when you have a Indian boss here versus an American boss, it makes a lot of difference in the kind of expectations that are set. And even the whole interview process itself, if you are being interviewed by an Indian guy versus if you are being interviewed by an American, it's so much different, because we know each other. If he's an Indian guy interviewing you, he knows what a typical Indian would work and how much he works. So they focus only on the deliverables. But when an American guy is interviewing you, he looks at the overall personality of you. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? Not how much have you done? What have you done? So there is a huge difference, and here they encourage a lot of taking personal time off, and they put a lot of importance that you have a balance between your work life and professional life. Recently, one of my colleagues was working a lot, probably a difficult project, complex project. So the other colleague, American guy, he was like, okay, she's been working really hard, let me send a gift, order something on Amazon and send her something. I mean, those small things, they really matter a lot. And I haven't really seen anything like that back in India. Appreciating something through rewards is very, it needs a lot of effort for us to put that across and say that, oh, I appreciate your work. Now I'm seeing on LinkedIn, people are posting that, oh, I appreciate how you're doing, how you being a great teammate. But yeah, there's a huge difference. But hopefully that the difference definitely gradually reduces and becomes better in India.
Yeah, I think that whole thing about having a separation between your work life and personal life. So that is something at least for the company where I work, it's there. The separation is very good, and we respect each other's work hours and personal lives, etc. But I do know of a lot of my friends who are, uh, working for companies, and they're like big companies, MNCs, etc. And they want a personal life, but their team is such that like they're judgmental. They're like, we are working, why aren't you working? I mean, like, the simple answer is that it's because I have a life and you don't. But I think the whole thing of judgment and, the whole precedence that they're setting of, saying yes to everything, uh, that itself has gotten us into a huge stereotype. Like, we had to blame for that and our
I mean,
ancestors and all
if you
that.
see, usually on Friday when we have our regular team meetings, we talk about, hey, what are you doing this weekend? Most most of our guys are like nothing, staying at home. But if you see these guys, they're like, oh, I'm going fishing. Oh, Friday they take off and they just go RV. I mean, take rent an RV and go somewhere adventurous place. So they really set a lot of importance on their personal life. And yeah, but as you asked Abhinandan, so they are hardworking, definitely, but their work style is so different from how we do, we Indians do.
Yeah, I think also what I've observed, right, in my work with obviously people in the US is small things like what they say sorry, or just in a casual conversation, say sorry, say thank you. And I think that's from where the whole appreciation thing starts. So even if it's a small work and they kind of call it out and say, okay, look, they're courteous enough to say thank you, or if a mail is delayed by something, they say, okay, I'm really sorry. Hopefully, you can appreciate me doing that. I think that's something that we can adopt. Obviously, it's more of a learning culture. They can adopt certain things from us, and then we can adopt from them. And I think those small things actually really matter. And I think that's becoming more important because in the current world, people are online and they're just speaking. You really don't know what someone else is going through. I think these small things will matter in a longer time frame, is what I think, right? And obviously the point that you raised about them going in depth, right? They want to go more in depth. They want to probe more in terms of a certain topic, like how an interview with a boss and American bosses, versus here it's more. I can't say superficial, but then it's fine. We don't want to probe more. We don't want to ask the why again and again.
Right.
So
Yeah, and also I've seen one major difference between Indian interviewers and American. Um, I mean, this is out of my experience. So I feel that most of the or some of the Indian interviewers, they feel that they are at a higher pedestal than the interviewee, the candidate who is interviewing. So they feel that they are better at their work, and probably they think, oh, okay, you haven't done this. Why? Or tell me about a complex project. If I give them an example, oh, that's not complex enough. I mean,
Condescending.
yeah, so that you don't see with these guys. So if you say, yeah, I just moved the pen from here to here, that itself is complex for me, they'll be like, oh, okay, that's interesting. They don't, on your face, they don't say it that, oh, that's not complex. Tell me something more complex. They're like, okay, that's interesting. Okay, all right. I think that is something I've seen a huge. So you feel good about yourself. Oh, I haven't done anything, but I think this guy says, oh, that's okay. That's complex for you at that particular time.
There's no
So that
judgment, basically.
there's no judgment. They're appreciative of what you're doing, how much ever you're doing. They know that you're trying your best. Yeah.
but I think one more thing is that, right, of Indians being hosts versus Americans being hosts. Here we have, I can say, the good fortune of just barging into someone's door. I can just knock and I can say, like, for example, Abhinav, I can just say, bro, I'm coming, right? And something that you can't do there, right? Or is it something that you can do there? I mean, there's obviously a lot of there's a huge Indian population there. Is that something you can do over there, right? What's the myth on that?
So yeah, I mean, I feel Indians are hosts even if they go to someone else's house. I mean, especially if you're coming to US, you still act as a host. You adapt yourself to their policies. You say, oh, okay, fine, no problem. You whatever it is, we'll abide by. So I feel when we are at home, we are hosts. When we come here, also we are hosts. But knocking the door, it depends. usually what we do here is we form a community of our own Indians here. We stick together. Because the kind of festivals that we celebrate, or the kind of uh, pastimes that we have, or the way we spend our weekends, we try to stick to our own folks. But I think they are very accommodative here. Especially there are some cities where it's more diverse population. You definitely, depending on the frequency or the rapport that you have with your colleagues or your friends, you can definitely. I myself don't have too many American friends here. Like I follow Chelsea football club, so we have a few friends over here. We meet weekend over weekend to watch the matches. So I mean, there is one Indian guy. I mean, half Indian, half Mexican. So I talk to him, and I have those friends. I mean, but never got into like invite them to over, or I go to their place. So we all meet at a place, and we spend good times. Yeah, I think that's something that I have to develop. Have more American friends and say, dude, let's go for a chai tea latte.
Yeah. But I think there's also that personal space thing, right? Here is that this here is like personal space. Train, everyone is there, like, yeah. But they're respectful of the personal space. You don't intrude into someone's
Even
personal
standing
space.
in a line, Corona or before Corona, you don't you would see the distance. There it is like you can almost feel.
But I think it's so much to do with like our population also, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, if you see the density, there is not enough opportunity for you to keep the distance.
opportunity, resources, I think like almost everything.
Yeah. I mean, even here, if you see, some cities are so overcrowded, but some cities are like you look for where's my neighbor? I mean, how far is it living? So, yeah. Again, it's depending on the space, as you said.
Like I think we have covered like more or less most of the points that we want to talk about.
I was just going to say, is there any major myth that you thought, okay, that you were told about, and there when you went, it was like complete flip, like 180-degree? Like,
Yeah, what the hell? Like,
I think not too many myths that I had, like it's total flip, but I didn't realize the depth of the gravity of the visa situation here. I thought it's okay, it's probably a hurdle we can easily jump over. It's probably a 1.5 foot hurdle, but oh man, the life here is defined by your visa situation. So that is something, if you're not prepared for, it can really upset you, and it can really ruin all your plans that you have made and come here. So if anybody is looking to move here on any kind of visa, student or a work visa, do all your readings. Don't get disappointed, but do enough research, know what you're getting into, and be prepared for what you're you know enrolling into. So that's something that I have done a little bit of research before moving here, but oh, it's much deeper than what you think or what you see when you're there. Yeah, that is something really put me made me more humble, that oh my god, it's much bigger.
and like, what was your motivation like when you moved? Like, were you like, is it majorly money, or was it like just the quality of life itself?
I would be lying if I said no, money is definitely not a motivation, but it's def it's definitely not the
Definitely.
top. Yeah, it's definitely not the top aspect, because i I think companies were probably paying really well back in India. Opportunities were great, and even now I think I'm hearing really great things about job market in India. But definitely the quality of life is, and I want to say that experience. I wanted to experience a foreign country. I think Sri Lanka was the first country I stepped on to, apart from So I went for a week. I was I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. This feeling is amazing when you're in a different country. And I've been hearing a lot of hype about. I probably never wanted to or had the urge to move here until certain, I think 2015 or something. Although some of my friends have been coming here on the business visa or on the work visa, but I think once it hit me that okay, I need to go, it really worked out for me in 1 year. And definitely, I mean, learning more experiences about how the world is on the other side. And I can say that I'm not saying I'm disappointed, but yeah, it's so different, and it is so important for you to learn about all these, and it makes you a better person. Yeah, and quality of life, obviously. I mean, the first world has its own advantages. So
I mean, like, definitely it's all about at the end, like uh, the cost benefit or pros and cons analysis. So
right, but
if
if you see money, because if you think of US dollar, and if you're thinking that you're earning in USD, and if you're thinking that you're spending in INR, I think that's not right. So you are earning in USD, you are spending in USD, right? So as I said, we end up paying around 50% in rent. Imagine if somebody is making 1 lakh and paying 50,000 in rent. Maybe some Mumbai people must be doing that. I know it's super expensive in Mumbai,
Yeah.
South
but
Bombay.
that is, yeah, right. Yeah, so that's one thing. When you come here, it takes time to stop thinking about Indian rupees. If you see something like $10, oh my God, it's 750 rupees. No, you cannot think like that. I think it took me a while. Every time I see the dollar sign, I used to think, oh, I have to convert into rupee. Oh, it's expensive. No, it's
Denominations.
yeah. So it took me a while to stop converting it into Indian rupees, and thinking only in terms of dollars. So yeah, anything under $20 is like, it's okay, I can spend types.
The end, I have a personal question. Like, obviously, you studied here and you studied there also, and obviously, you worked, right? Would you recommend someone post studying here and post working there go back to studying in the US, right? Would or in any other country, for that example, would you recommend someone to do that?
I think what I did was I did my bachelor's and immediately jumped on to do my MBA. MBA is a degree which it'll make sense for you to do MBA when you have probably a first-hand experience in profession, there, or at least first-hand experience in a business. Then you'll make sense of what you're studying. I mean, that was about MBA, but any field, if you take any discipline, I feel definitely studying or doing an online course from a foreign country definitely helps you put things in perspective. Because when I was doing same financial management here, it was totally a new subject for me. It's been years that I did my financial management in India, but the topics were so different. The method of teaching was so different, and it'll really open up so many avenues for you to really think that, oh, this is how also it can be done. I'm not just talking about dollar versus rupee, but how we talked about, credit is a different thing in India, credit is different thing in US credit is a good thing to have in India probably. But yeah, I would definitely recommend, if you are able to, if circumstances are allowing you to, definitely get a degree from. It doesn't matter how long it takes or after how many years because after I got into the college after 11 years, I finished 9 years. I finished my MBA, first MBA in 2008. I enrolled in the next MBA in 2017. So after 9 years, I was going back to college. It doesn't matter. You should do it. If you have a chance, if you have the willingness, I think you should do it.
Now I'm inspired. Like, I have to do my masters.
Yes,
Okay.
likewise, same here.
Yes, you should do it.
Yeah.
Never stop learning. I even wanted to enroll myself into PhD. Probably I'll do it sometime if there is a chance given to me.
Yeah, and definitely you should start a streaming channel like we were just discussing before the podcast.
Yes, I think this show definitely gave me the confidence. I was looking forward to doing this with you guys, just for a personal selfish reason, that I'll get more motivation to start recording, because I thought, who would really care about my opinions? But it doesn't matter. I think opinions are opinions. There are thousands of people who think like us and who listen to us and say, oh, exactly, that's what I thought about it. Because that happens to me when I see some Instagram reels and like, oh yeah, I think the same way. So I think it's a great medium to connect to like-minded people, like how you guys came together and putting up this great show.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks to both of you for this opportunity.
Yeah. I think I'm listening to a podcast, and one of the person on the podcast, I think it was Jocko Willink, the Navy SEAL. He was saying that, or maybe Tim Ferriss, he was saying, if it benefits even one person, it's worth doing, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
I think there's a whole study about that, the 1,000 true fans and all also, right? So even if you have like some crazy amount of subscribers, at the end of it, what matters is those 1,000 true fans who will stand by you no matter what. That way you'll be sorted, like with having an audience plus creating content for them plus finance wise and things like that. So there's a whole study about that actually. So anyway,
but I have one true fan which is there.
Yeah. It's not working.
yeah, it's not even working.
No, I switched it off. I switched it off. No, but on a serious note, I was a fan of this conversation. I learned a lot. Like the whole thing about it benefiting even one person, and I'm sure it benefited even Mr. Abhinav. But I also didn't know certain things about
course.
what you said about US, but just benefited me hugely, and probably more than I could say, it inspired us probably to do a further education in US post this conversation with you.
Right. That's great. Yeah. Hope to see you guys sometime soon and do a podcast in person in the future.
Yes.
Definitely. More topics to discuss, and this way it'll be other way around. Like Raja will be hosting us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll be like, how do you feel now coming to this side of the world?
Yeah.
Do you-
We'll be like, how do you feel hosting us?
Yeah, it'll be like the continuation of this. Like we'll come there and he'll be like, "Okay, I spoke to you all so much. What was your experience? What did you think now?"
I think we can give that feel. Like, can you book an appointment with my secretary?
Yeah, I think I'll also have to get appointments from you guys. I'm sure your right now show is going to be such a success very soon.
Thanks a lot. We're honored.
Yes.
Tears.
Tears. I saw one of my colleagues gifting the other colleague a mug which said "Tears of my teammates."
Oh.
That was classic burn. I was so scared. I was like, how can you even think of doing that? I mean, I was in two states of mind. What if they take it as an offense? But it was such a hit. That other colleague loved it. Yeah.
I'm going to do it before this podcast releases.
Yeah, awesome conversation. Loved every bit of today. It just flew off. The time just flew. And I'm sure the time is flying for you also.
Yeah, it's already September 5th. I mean, like, it feels like I've been talking to you guys for a day. Happy Teachers Day.
Been teaching us. Yeah.
Happy Teachers Day. Yeah.
Happy Teachers Day. That's right.
Awesome. So that's about it, guys, for the day. And I hope you all enjoyed our podcast for the day. We did a lot and we learned a lot. So until next time, thank you so much, Raja.